Welcome to 7 Days Report, your reliable source of information from all major news from around the world. I'm your host, Vasilios Nikolaos Vitsilogiannis, and I'm happy to have you here with us this evening. Every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m., we bring you the latest headlines, in-depth analysis, and insightful commentary on the stories that matter most. Whether you're tuning in for a recap of the week or looking for a deeper understanding of global events, we've got you covered. Let's start with our first news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Saudi Arabia on March 10, 2025, for crucial peace talks aimed at resolving the ongoing conflict with Russia. His visit coincides with discussions involving U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is leading a delegation to assess Ukraine's readiness for potential concessions in the peace process. Both leaders are set to meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Jeddah, where the discussions are expected to focus on a proposed ceasefire and military aid agreements. Zelensky emphasized Ukraine's commitment to peace, stating that the conflict is a result of Russian aggression. He expressed hope that the talks would pave the way for a resolution, particularly after tensions escalated following a contentious meeting with U.S. officials in late February. The Ukrainian delegation is reportedly prepared to propose a limited ceasefire covering key conflict areas, including the Black Sea and long-range missile strikes, as well as the release of prisoners. Rubio highlighted the importance of understanding Ukraine's intentions and willingness to make difficult decisions for peace. He stressed that both sides must engage in meaningful dialogue to address the significant human and material costs of the war. The U.S. aims to clarify Ukraine's position on potential concessions, which could facilitate a return of military aid that has been paused since the Oval Office clash between Zelensky and President Trump. As the situation develops, analysts suggest that successful negotiations could shift pressure onto Russia, challenging its reluctance toward any form of ceasefire. The outcome of these talks in Saudi Arabia may significantly influence future diplomatic relations and military support for Ukraine as it seeks to navigate this complex geopolitical landscape. Syria's interim government has made a historic move by signing a landmark agreement with the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, aiming to integrate the powerful militia into the national framework. This deal, announced on March 10, 2025, marks a significant step towards unifying the country following over a decade of civil conflict. The agreement was formalized during a meeting between interim President Ahmed al-Sharaa and SDF leader Mazloum Abdi in Damascus. It stipulates that SDF-controlled institutions, including border checkpoints, an airport, and vital oil and gas resources in northeastern Syria, will be incorporated into the Syrian state. In return, the Kurdish community is recognized as an essential component of the nation, with guarantees of citizenship and constitutional rights, including language rights for education. Abdi hailed the accord as a genuine opportunity to create a new Syria, emphasizing its potential to foster peace and dignity for all Syrians. The agreement also aims to mitigate sectarian tensions that have plagued the region, particularly following recent violence against Alawite communities loyal to former President Bashar al-Assad. Celebrations erupted across various cities in Syria as citizens expressed hope for a more inclusive future. Fireworks lit up the skies above Aleppo, signaling widespread support for the deal. The integration of SDF forces is seen as crucial in stabilizing the country and addressing ongoing security threats from remnants of Assad's regime. While this agreement signifies a major shift in Syrian politics, it also comes amid escalating violence in western Syria, where clashes have resulted in numerous civilian casualties. The interim government faces challenges in maintaining order and ensuring that this new partnership leads to lasting peace and stability. Greenland's center-right opposition party, Democratet, secured a surprise victory in the March 11th parliamentary elections, defeating the long-standing left-wing coalition. The election, dominated by debates over independence and U.S. President Donald Trump's controversial interest in acquiring the resource-rich Arctic territory, has drawn unprecedented international attention. Democratet emerged as the largest party, capturing 29.9% of the vote, an impressive leap from 9.1% in 2021. The nationalist Naleraq Party, which advocates for rapid independence from Denmark, also gained significant ground, finishing second with 24.5%. Meanwhile, the ruling Inuit Ataqatigiit IA party and its coalition partner Siumut conceded defeat, marking the end of their tenure. Independence was the central issue of this election. Greenland has been a semi-autonomous territory under Denmark since 1979, with full independence legally possible through a referendum. While Democratic supports a gradual path to independence to avoid economic instability, Naleraq pushes for immediate action. The election results suggest a broad consensus among Greenlanders for eventual independence, albeit with differing timelines. The campaign was further intensified by Trump's renewed push to make Greenland part of the United States, citing strategic and economic interests in the Arctic. His remarks stirred unease among Greenlanders and amplified calls for self-determination. Outgoing Prime Minister Mut Egede criticized Trump's rhetoric, but acknowledged the need to reform Greenland's relationship with Denmark. With no party securing an outright majority in the 31-seat Inatsisartut parliament, coalition negotiations are underway. Jens Frederik Nielsen, leader of Democratic, expressed optimism about forming a government that balances social policies with aspirations for independence. On Thursday, March 13, 2025, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Moscow to engage in crucial discussions regarding a proposed 30-day ceasefire in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This diplomatic initiative follows Ukraine's recent agreement to the ceasefire during talks held in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, earlier this week. Witkoff's visit aims to persuade Russian officials to accept the truce as military operations continue unabated in the region, with Russia attempting to regain territories lost to Ukrainian forces last year. The Kremlin confirmed Witkoff's arrival and indicated that negotiations would take place, although they have yet to disclose their official stance on the ceasefire proposal. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, mentioned that Russia would formulate its position after receiving further information from U.S. representatives about the recent discussions in Jeddah. President Vladimir Putin has been vocal about his intent to reclaim lost territories, recently urging military leaders to capitalize on their momentum. U.S. President Donald Trump expressed hope that Russia would agree to the ceasefire, warning of potential devastating financial sanctions if negotiations fail. Trump emphasized that achieving peace is his primary goal and that he prefers not to resort to sanctions. The U.S. administration believes that this ceasefire could pave the way for a broader peace agreement, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio highlighting the necessity of a resolution to halt hostilities. However, analysts caution that Russia may leverage the ceasefire discussions to deepen divisions between Washington and Kyiv while regrouping for future offensives. As Witkoff engages with Russian officials, the international community watches closely, hopeful for a breakthrough in these critical negotiations amidst ongoing tensions and military actions on both sides. In a significant diplomatic move, Russia and China, alongside Iran, have urged the United States to lift sanctions imposed on Tehran and revive stalled nuclear negotiations. This call comes as tensions between Iran and the U.S. remain high, with Iran's nuclear program advancing rapidly. Deputy foreign ministers from Russia, China, and Iran met in Beijing on Friday to discuss Tehran's nuclear program and advocate for an end to what they termed unlawful unilateral sanctions. China's Vice Foreign Minister Ma Jiaoxu emphasized the need for political and diplomatic engagement based on mutual respect, stating that sanctions and threats of military action must be abandoned. The meeting highlights a growing alliance between China, Russia, and Iran, who have criticized the U.S.'s maximum pressure strategy. This strategy, reinstated by President Donald Trump, includes economic sanctions and the threat of military action. Iran's nuclear program has made significant progress since the U.S. withdrew from the 2015 nuclear agreement. Tehran maintains that its program is for peaceful purposes, but the international community remains concerned about potential weapons development. The U.S. has recently imposed new sanctions on Iran, despite Trump's efforts to engage with Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, through a private letter. Khamenei has expressed skepticism about negotiations with the U.S., describing it as a bullying government. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi stressed the importance of dialogue and negotiation, emphasizing that the 2015 nuclear agreement was a significant achievement that should be built upon. The support of Russia and China is crucial for any progress in talks with the U.S., given their status as permanent members of the UN Security Council. we wrap up another edition of the 7 Days Report, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks for joining me this evening. We've covered a wide array of significant global events, and I hope you found our news insightful and engaging. Remember, you can catch us every weekend at 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. for your weekly major news from around the world. Stay tuned for our next meeting, where we'll dive deeper into the stories shaping our world. Until then, take care and keep informed. This is Vasilios Nikolaos Vitzilogiannis signing off. Goodbye.